Greetings. This is Paul the Poke from paulthepoke.com. Today's topic, Federal Reserve calls for inflation. We are August 28th, 2020. This actually took place yesterday on the 27th. Jackson Hole, Wyoming, the Federal Reserve is changing course in monetary policy. Chairman Jerome Powell indicated the Federal Reserve is willing to allow for inflation to elevate above 2% for some time before raising interest rates. So, translation, get used to low interest rates for a while. And the cost of basic goods is going up in price. So here comes inflation. I mean, they are stating we are looking to inflate prices. Now, if you're interested, you can click on this link below for the official speech and comment from the Federal Reserve Chairman, Jerome Powell, right here. I'll click on it, and you can see, here's the statement. If you want to read all that, it's quality reading for any policy wonks who like this sort of stuff, or if you're into economics. A lot of you will make your eyes crossed, and you'll go a little crazy as I explain why they do what they do. So, at any rate, our own Michael DeVille, he's watching, and he provides analysis of the situation. And Michael has a warning: beware, stocks are decoupling from the economy. Now, he's a real estate guy, and he recommends to buy small rentals for cash flow. And the divergence of the stock market from the real economy does not happen often. So, essentially what's going on is that stock prices are elevating to a level that is not supporting how much the companies are earning. So historically, stocks are very expensive in some cases. And then some companies just aren't making money. Now, Michael explains a lot of this here in the YouTube video that he's provided. And he is warning investors, when the stock market does decouple, investors need to take heed and may be prudent to take profits and transfer wealth to much more conservative and cash flow rentals in one of three great states. Now, he thinks Florida, Texas, and Arizona are those states. So, and as always, consult with your financial advisor and see what they have to say about these things. But do listen to what Michael has to say about it. He's been spot on with this stuff for many years. For those of you guys who follow the blog, he's provided excellent financial insight and advice. So some people are like, why do you keep covering all this financial stuff? And it's like, well, one of the initial hallmarks of the end time scenario is hyperinflation. And this happens initially with the third seal in Revelation 6. And so the question, that I'm asking, I'm not saying this is the case, but I do think it's worth noting, is the Federal Reserve change in fiscal, financial, monetary policy setting the stage for the scenario below? I mean, so the Fed is saying, look, we want to create inflation. And, now they intend to keep it around 2.5%. That doesn't mean they can control it as much as they'd like everybody to believe they're Oz, controlling money. Things happen, things could get out of hand, and then we got a mess on our hands. That's also possible. We're going to close with Revelation 6, verses 5 through 6. When he opened the third seal, I heard the third living creature say, "Come." And I looked, and behold, a black horse. And its rider had a pair of scales in his hand. And I heard what seemed to be a voice in the midst of the four living creatures saying, a quart of wheat for a denarius, and 3 quarts of barley for a denarius, and do not harm the oil and wine. Now, just a brief breakdown of this. Jesus has opened the scroll and initiated judgment with a series of seals, trumpets, and bowls. And with the opening of the third seal, John speaks of a time when it will cost a day's wage for food. So, at the time of this writing, about 2,000 years ago, a denarius was a day's wage for labor. So if you put in a day's work, you'd get a denarius. Well, John's writing a denarius, a day's wage for a quart of wheat or 3 quarts of barley. And that's about how much it would take to feed a family. So now we're nowhere near that right now. We're not looking at a situation where it takes us work all day to just pay for our food. let alone shelter, clothes, electricity, cars, you name it. We're nowhere close to that. But the Bible does say this is coming. And the working class, the poor, will be impacted to the point where it will cost them, all the money that they earn in the course of a day just to eat. And the last phrase, and do not harm the oil and wine. So the rich are not impacted. Do not harm the oil and wine. And that's what this is likely to do. Those with money will be able to take advantage of the situation of inflation that the Fed is telegraphing, hey, we're going to try to inflate prices. So, people who buy commodities, that'd be oil, natural gas, food, wheat, corn, gold, silver, lumber, orange juice, the basic staples, cocoa, the basic staples of life that make the world go round, those prices are going up. Gold, silver, and the people that have those things will hang on to them while the Fed prints more money, keeps it, interest rates down, and prices go up, and then they'll sell at some point. Now, who knows how high it goes, and who knows if this works out the way they intend it, they being the Federal Reserve. But anyway, it is worth watching, and it's why we keep an eye on economic conditions with the end times, because right out of the chute, hyperinflation. So something's going to have to happen that's going to lead to hyperinflation, cause hyperinflation to occur. And then we eventually know as the global economic system goes bust. And toward the last half of the 7-year tribulation, in the last 3.5 years, some guy comes along with a mark and says, hey, take the mark, and this is how you can participate in economics. So it does get worse. But in the meantime, hyperinflation will be the hallmark of the initial part of this period, of this 7-year period. So something's got to happen to cause things to trend in that direction. So keep your eyes on the economy. Keep your eyes on the prices of basic goods, groceries, electricity, shelter, clothing, etc. The basics. So appreciate you guys watching. If you are interested, please feel free to click on this blue bar. Sometimes there's a gray bar. Put your email address in there, and you'll receive notification every time we put something out. The emails are not sold. They're kept private per WordPress. That's how they handle it. And this will be categorized under Michael Duvall Prophecy Trend Update. And we got some other keywords there. So scroll down on the far right past the Twitter feed. And that's another thing, too. There's so much going on in the world. That's like last night. I'm going through Twitter, saw this morning. Japan's Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, he's retiring. He's got colitis, chronic colitis. Jared Kushner's over there in the Middle East. He's working for peace in the Middle East, going and seeing other Arab countries. We've got potential civil war starting to take place in Lebanon. Hezbollah and citizens are fighting, shooting at each other in the streets. We had Russian and American tanks sparring and playing chicken, frankly engaging each other, just playing bumper cars in the Syrian desert. And then we had this little thing with Hurricane Laura a couple days ago, almost becoming a Category 5. So, I mean, it's, essentially just cherry picking the big main stories. And I'll give you a little heads up. We got some other stuff coming up. Tigris and Euphrates rivers are going dry. Got several articles on that. I'm going to be putting together a post for that early next week. And then who knows what else happens between now and then. But crazy time. Would appear things are picking up in pace, intensity, and getting closer together with frequency. So appreciate you guys following along. Hope you have a great evening. Take care. Bye.